2010. We did, it was a $15 million project, and 11 million was forgiveness, principal forgiveness on the loans. So the city has loans that started at $4 million worth of loans. That fee on the bills was basically, with taking on the loans, it was increased and then promised to pay the debt. So each year, I do this resolution that frees up those reserve funds to pay the debt. And that's what this resolution is. Very simply put, it frees it up. If you don't free the reserved funds, then I take it out of the regular utility fund, which, and this sits and grows again, but,
That's something we do every year.
Yeah, that is. We just have to do it to release those funds from the reserve.
How much do we still owe on that loan?
Just a minute, I do have that. There are basically 3 loans. One is very small, it's like a construction factor, but the balance of the loan is $1,391,829. And the yearly loan payment is $218,155 with interest, and the reserve funds available by this resolution this year is $187,000. So it doesn't quite cover the entire amount.
Well, what amount of interest are we paying on that loan?
Oh, your interest rate runs from 1.87% to 1.98%. They are state loans with the state of Florida.
Any other questions for Ms. Joanne?
No, we're not talking about that world famous 10 million also.
I don't truly know what world famous 10 million you're referring to.
Floated around this community for years.
I cannot dispel rumors. I don't really know
Yeah.
what it is because I have no clue. But yeah, I don't know.
I know Bob Crawley was a manager by then. All right.
All right, so we have a motion, a second. All in favor of the passing of the resolution 2025-18? Aye.
No.
Opposed, like sign. All right, resolution 2025-18 passes. Moving on now to item number F, Mr. Chester.
Reading of the ordinance of 1534, an ordinance amending the Code of the City of Live Oak to provide for lien amnesty and forgiveness of fines and liens associated with the code enforcement.
By title only, the City Council Ordinance number 1534, an ordinance of the City of Live Oak, Florida, amending the Code of the City of Live Oak, Florida to provide lien amnesty and forgiveness of fines and liens associated with code enforcement proceedings, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date. This is the first reading of an ordinance, so you need to open up a public hearing.
All right, so at this time, we would like to open up to the public any discussion, comments, concerns concerning the ordinance read into effect by title. Come on up, Beasley.
Kenny Beasley, 1717 Northeast Davis Street.
Yes, sir.
I'll be able to present any loans or money y'all need to get, go get it.
Okay.
That's the way I feel about it. The city need money, right?
Yes, sir. This is actually, This is actually an ordinance that will amend the current code that actually provides lien forgiveness and amnesty for some of those fines that we spoke of in previous meetings and workshops concerning fines that far surpass the actual property value. For example, property may be valued at $30-something thousand, and it may have accrued up to upwards of $1 million for over the years, and that's just not feasible for somebody to ever come into it actually amends some of those, the wording and stuff in that previous ordinance that was being amended. Requesting.
But I mean, is there any way you can possibly look for auctions, make your money back that kind of way, or what?
Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't be the one to speak on that, I'll let Mr. Sessions speak on it.
I mean, y'all, you know, y'all know the city been crying broke, so
Oh, yes, sir, I understand.
that's the way to help the city get some money.
I have an example, Mr. Beasley. That I know a lot of y'all have been up and down Duval Street in the last few days, and you've seen that one cleared lot on the corner of Duval. So that was a situation where we had a code enforcement, and the liens, you know, on those just go up and up and up, and they go up for years. And if it's $1 million worth of liens against it, nobody's going to be able to afford to buy the property and then pay the lien. So that leaves it undeveloped. But if we give amnesty to the code enforcement lien on it, they can afford to buy the property and then of course tear something down and clean it up and build a brand new building there or house or whatever. So that corner lot there on Duval Street's a good example of, I'm not sure that it was a lien on it, but I think there was. But that's a good example of a bad piece of property that no one's going to pay those liens and be able to afford to either build anything on it and buy the property. So we give the amnesty of the code enforcement liens. There's still going to be tax liens and things like that on it, but as far as the code enforcement lien, we forgive those to enable these places to be cleaned up and something built on them, so we have a nicer, newer place in town for somebody to live in.
I just know maybe it helps y'all.
I understand your point, sir.
All right,
Thank you, Mr. Beasley.
You know I was coming in there. Linda Williams, 514 Southwest Lincoln, Live Oak. My interest in this is about liens. When you have a lien on a property, what's the length of the time that you're going to keep liens on property before it's sold?
Some of these liens have been going on for years, and they build up because nothing's ever been done, or it gets kicked down the road either by the magistrate or whatever happens. And so, you know, all of a sudden I come along and we've got $1 million liens that no one's going to pay. So I'd rather have it forgiven so that we get it cleaned up, get a lot in the city cleaned up and get something built on.
My thing is that you've got these liens that on this property, some of them have been 10, 15, 20 years. And so my question to you and my thoughts to you is that, are you going to set a limit to say we're going to keep a lien on this property for 5 years, 10 years, and then we're going to sell it, or what's your plan?
The ordinance does not provide a time limit. The ordinance has been redrafted to allow the city council to be the board that decides the lien amnesty. The lien amnesty can be a full forgiveness, a 50% forgiveness, whatever the council decides on that particular piece of property. A lien is only good on property for 20 years, and so it remains there until some action is taken.
Right, okay, what I'm saying is, okay, so I've got this piece of property, and you've got a lien on it for 20 years, and someone wants to purchase this property, and you're going to give them amnesty for this piece of property. The property could be worth $1 million.
Well, it's a case-by-case basis, so I can't answer that question.
Case by
Because the
case.
council has to answer that question when that case comes before it.
Okay, so now to the council, how are you going to handle that?
Let me correct you on a public hearing is a public comment, I'm not trying to cut you off.
No, you're good, you're good.
But the purpose of the public hearing is to get the comment versus the discussion is between the council.
So you can pose the question and we'll consider we're just not going to come back with a response.
Right, okay, so my thing is that you're talking about amnesty about property. How you're going to decide on how much to, my thing is how are you going to decide on how much to forgive them for? Are you going to ask the people to, hey, look, I mean, the property is worth $300,000. I'm going to just let you have this, do away with the lien on it, and you can have the property. I'm going to sell it to somebody that come in to develop it. So the developer is going to get where the property worth maybe $300,000. A developer comes into here, buy your property, and now they're developing it, and it's worth $2 or $3 million. So look what you lost out on. You've given the property to a developer for amnesty, And now they've come in and they're making millions of dollars off of something that you sit here and you've allowed and gave it away to people because the property's never been developed. Maybe, what have we done? When I say we, have you done to look up and say, okay, who owns the property? How can this be resolved? The people who own the property, you're sending out to whatever. Most of the time, the reason why property is not because of the fact that they're older and the properties, you don't know who owns the property. And I sit in some of your code enforcement with your property, and they said, okay, let's see, the property needs to be cleaned off. You give them 6 months to get it clean. Bam, I go do a little bit. 6 more months, you get it to be clean. 6 more months, 6 more months. And then we've been, the turnover, you're sitting here, the turnover of people to get this property cleaned up are the things that happen. Because you're only up here for 8 years, whatever, and then it's a whole new group. Thank you, Mr. Sessions, for looking into this, saying, hey, look, let's do something about getting Live Oak cleaned up, all this other vacant property. But my concern is that you're getting it done, but what are you doing with the property? You're giving it away to developers to make more money off of it. You're not giving it to the people to build houses. You yourselves can use it to say, okay, we got this property. Why don't we develop into building houses or doing something for the people of the city so you can get your own tax money back off of it? But you're just taking it and you're giving it to developers and they're making the money. Where you're sitting up there and you have the authority to build houses on this property, for Anderson, you're getting cleaned up, build houses. You say you're not in the property of building houses, but do something. Find Habitat or someone to come in and do something with the property that you own, the city of Live Oak owns. Don't just give it away to developers. Do something about it before you give it away to them.
Well, Ms. Linda, I'll explain a little bit. We don't own it. We don't own the property. It's privately owned land that has a lien against it, and there are owners. So they actually make the money when they sell it to someone else who's willing to buy it when the lien's forgiven. And then when it's developed, the city actually gets more money or makes money on tap and impact fees and water bills and things like that to enhance what we're trying to do as far as fixing the roads and things like that. We have another paying customer.
And I'm going to interrupt though, just point of order, just not really supposed to be
It's not
this.
discussion, it's
If
just
you
that
have
fact, it's not a discussion, but it's just that my
conversation,
conversation is that you want to know, and this is what I'm asking. I'm just saying, instead of you letting the lien, somebody forgiving the lien, then you giving it to somebody to purchase it. Why don't you look into other means instead of, you understand exactly what I'm saying?
I'll be quick. Joseph Carroll, 904 Pine Avenue. Just food for thought, Mr. Sessions. I'm sure you, the city attorney, will be much more in line to understand this. You're the subject matter experts, and I'm just an idea. I propose that lien should be capped at the value of the property. If the property's valued at, say, $100,000, then that could be the cap of the liens.
All right. Thank you, sir.
I was going to bring up that exact point. They should definitely be capped. Also, I really hope.
You say your name for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. Madison Snyder, on 718 7th Street Southwest. I was really hoping there would be some sort of mechanism in play. That way, somebody can't buy the property and do nothing with it, and then you still get that amnesty. I would hope that maybe 6 months or something like that after they buy the property, if those code enforcement issues aren't resolved, they still have that lien or still have some sort of major penalty that comes with that amnesty, because it just worries me if you buy stuff and then maybe not correct it. So just a thought. That's all I had to say.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
My name is Kyle Skeen. On the amnesty deal, is there any way that you can give amnesty if they and wipe it completely clean if they sell the property within 6 months to a year? At that point, then it would be redeveloped. I mean, I don't know how that works. I'm saying at that point, if you give amnesty, 100% amnesty, if they're willing to sell the property and let somebody else buy it to put housing or something on it.
Will be considered, yes, sir.
I'm just,
Yeah.
that might be a way to get it cleaned up plus help everybody.
Right.
So.
All right. Thank you. Any further comments? All right, so at this point, we'll close the public hearing session. Moving on to the pleasure of the council.
Can that be
Which means we have to,
all motion for the first reading of 1534?
all right, got a motion? And a second. All right, any discussion amongst council, questions?
Could we do? The workshop pretty good.
Oh, we already did a workshop on this.
No, we did something different, but we're hearing some different things out there, different ideas. Heard what the employees just said about what the board could do. But we never heard these type of ideas. John explained us about liens and amnesty, but some other ideas of putting stipulation and all that. It's not happening.
You have the ability to put whatever stipulations you want if you grant a total or partial amnesty. You can place whatever conditions you want on that reduction, if so choose to give a reduction or an amnesty. So you have, the ordinance is built in such a way that you put whatever conditions you want on it in order for them to get the benefit.
Correct, but some of these ideas we've heard tonight,
It's a case by case, so all the ideas you heard tonight, you could say, I'll give you an amnesty, reduce your lien to $1,000, contingent on you doing A, B, and C. If you don't do A, B, and C within 6 months, then you've not met your contingencies, and the lien continues in full force and effect at the full amount.
So you couldn't do a cap lien then, where the property's worth $100,000.
You can cap it on each and individual case that you come to. So if you get a case where the property, like we talked about in the workshop, you get a case that the property's worth 150 and the lien's worth 50, you might leave that lien in place because there's some flow. If the property's worth 150 and the lien's 150, you can cap it at 150, or you can reduce it with conditions.
I think the
Or deny the amnesty request and it stays and continues to accrue.
So Attorney Kenyon, what you're saying is that, and thank you for trying to clarify this, because this is just the first reading.
Correct.
All of those things that the council want to consider, they go ahead and make their recommendations before the second reading, and then we have the second reading.
Correct.
Thank you.
All right, further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor? Aye, opposed, like sign. All right, so the first reading of ordinance 1534 passes. Moving on to item G, I do have Mr. Snyder signed up to speak. Would you like to speak on that now or after?
After.
All right, after. All right, go ahead.
1535.
Ordinance number 1535, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Live Oak, Florida, relating to powers of local authorities, speed detection system placement and installation, school crossing guard recruitment and retention program, speed detection systems in school zones, speed detection systems penalties, driver license points, providing for the repeal of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
All right, so this is a first reading again. Is this where we open up to the public?
Correct. On all the rest of the
All right,
agenda
so-
items, about the public hearing.
Okay, so we'll open this up for public comment. The public hearing section is now open. If you'd like to speak?
And so he can go ahead and speak to the hearing portion.
All right, once again, I'm Linda Williams at 514 Southwest Lincoln, here in Live Oak. Let me tell you about your speeding. I probably make about 6 to 10 trips through your school zone a day. And I think it's a joke when you start talking about putting those cameras up. Because number one, you got the children are driving the vehicle, the parents' vehicle, they're in their parents' name. I'm behind school buses that's doing 31, 32 miles per hour. And I'm keeping up with school buses going through the area, school buses. And then you're talking about your zone, your school zones. You've got Westwood over here, you have Melanie out here, you have school zone everywhere. So you're talking about money that you're talking about developing in. Then you're talking about speeding. Your light flashing. When are they going to flash? when they're gonna stop flashing? When is the school zone? What hours? Are you gonna post that from the hours of 7:30 to 2, and then it drops back from 2:30 to 4, or what your hours are gonna be? And then you talk about the fact that, I don't think it'd be a wise decision to put cameras here. Because you're talking about two stressful things. And I sit there and when I go through, I have not yet seen an officer dash out to try to stop a speeding, somebody that's going very fast in school zone. And I'm telling you, I go through just about every school zone there is over there, from every school. What would be your purpose of putting those cameras, expensive cameras there? And then who you're giving, the kids are driving, the students are driving their parents' cars. So now you're putting stress on the parent. Wow, the kid was doing 25, 20, whatever miles, whatever. Who are you gonna blame? The student who's driving the parent's car? Or are you gonna drive the parents? Because they're usually in the parent's name. Now the parents gotta go to court about all these tickets. Is that being very fair to the parent or whoever owns the vehicle? They're not there to watch what time. And then you're talking about the directions that you're coming in from. Look at from the high school, the directions coming in from here. When you get off of, what is that? Whatever, when you're coming into high school. Your traffic flow. There's no way. All you're doing is creating finance for a company, not for your city. I personally think that you'd be wasting your money and your time by allowing a company to come in and rip off the people here in Suwannee County. This is what you're going to do. Because every time you do this, all you're doing is ripping off people. Because there's no way you can do this. Because there's too much traffic. And your officers are doing a great job. Your officers are doing a wonderful job. They're keeping the slow down. And it's not particular, I don't see where somebody rushing through your speeding. Only problem I see is over off of, here coming off of, what is that, Highway 51, that traffic. But other than that, I don't see people flying through. You already have people there directing your traffic. So why are you going to allow a company to come in here and put those speeds home? Have you looked into the other cities? I haven't found yet one. And I went through the internet trying to find different companies that's doing this. And everybody who's done it before, they all stopped. They said, no, we don't want it anymore. You are doing a disgrace. And I haven't seen yet where children has been run over, or,